Coming up on Network Africa, President of Kenya, William Ruto, to stand down financial bill as death toll rises. Malian President Assimi Goïta welcomed in Ouagadougou by Burkinabe counterpart Ibrahim Traoré. Plus, President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, holds rally in Iyarugenge district, promising to fulfill the people's wish. Thank you so much for joining us on the program at this time. I'm Layo Olarinde. Welcome. We're beginning in Kenya. President William Ruto has conceded to pressure, saying he will not be signing the controversial finance bill. He announced this at a media briefing in Nairobi, coming after weeks of protests from mainly youths that have been demonstrating against taxes the bill had imposed. President Ruto said the decision was also accepted by the lawmakers who had passed the bill on Tuesday. At least 13 protesters are said to have died and dozens others injured as police opened fire on protesters on Tuesday, while the parliament building was breached, a section set ablaze, and the ceremonial mace symbolizing the authority of the legislature was reported to have been stolen. And this is even as demonstrations against new tax proposals escalated. Well, in an address on Tuesday evening, President William Ruto warned he will do everything to curb attempts to undermine the security and stability of the country. Protests have been ongoing for days against the unpopular finance bill, which includes several tax rises, but they escalated to a dangerous pitch on Tuesday as the members of parliament passed an amended version.
An otherwise legitimate expression of the fundamental rights and freedoms of assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petitioning of public authorities by a section of law-abiding citizens of the Republic of Kenya was infiltrated and hijacked by a group of organized criminals. Today's events mark a critical turning point on how we respond to grave threats to our national security. I assure the nation that the government has mobilized all resources at the nation's disposal to ensure that a situation of this nature will not recur again at whatever cost. I have directed all the organs of our national security to deploy measures to thwart any attempt by dangerous criminals to undermine the security and stability of our country. I hereby put on notice the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy.
Well, let's get more on this. Joining us now is Cyrus Ombati, Kenyan journalist in Nairobi. Hello, Cyrus. Thank you so much for your time on the program. This time yesterday when we spoke, it was, unclear, and Kenyans were unsure if the president will be signing that bill. But now he has conceded to the pressure and he says he will not be signing. How are Kenyans, reacting to this? What is the mood like right now in the country?
Thank you for having me the show. Thank you so much for having me the show. It was a surprise to some or to many of his supporters who expected to sign the bill because of the way he had actually pushed for it to go through. But then the Ruto we had yesterday, the day of the demonstration, and the one we had today was different. Today was more reconciliatory. He was apologetic. He sent condolences to those people who are injured. He sent the kind of goodwill message to those who are in the hospital. It's very skeptical about the move today because the bill, when it's declined, it has procedures which are followed according to Kenyan laws. once he declines it, he has 14 days for the MPs to be in session to discuss about it, whatever he has declined, either to agree in totality with whatever he has said, or if they decline to actually agree with what he said, it becomes law within 14 days. That's the problem now we have.
All right then, but in today's briefing, he said that the lawmakers also accept the decision that he has made. So you're saying right now that we have 14 days till there's a new finance bill?
Well, he declined according to the announcement today, he declined in totality the whole bill. That means that whatever was proposed in that bill are null and void. In law, he is allowed to do that, but then he has to send it back to the House for discussion for the MPs to agree or decline with whatever he said. The problem is that unless Parliament is recalled, it's now currently in session for the next 3 weeks. So that means that the Speaker of the National Assembly has to call for a special session for MPs to come back to the session. And so it's a matter of wait and see. But so far as it stands, he has said that he is declining to sign the bill, and it has cooled down the temperatures because tomorrow again there were people who are planning again to come back for protest. They are saying they are going to march to State House. But then today they have said, no, they are not going to start off. Now they're going to the police headquarters because they are saying the police are the ones who killed them yesterday. So it's another wait and see, because I know there are so many things going on right now to kind of diffuse the tension or the plans to hold the demonstration tomorrow.
Well, tell us a bit more about, today's briefing. You pointed out earlier that there was a difference, in the president speaking yesterday evening and today. Tell us a bit more about what he said at today's briefing.
Well, as I said, it was an irony because the same group of MPs who passed the bill yesterday are the ones who are in Parliament today, who are in the State House today with him. And they held a long session in the afternoon whereby they were discussing on the pros and cons of decline. I mean, according to those who are there, they're saying that the president was under much pressure from various groups, be it local, international, who are telling that he had no option, because even these MPs who passed the bill themselves, they have so much pressure in their constituencies. In fact, a number of them had their property, houses burnt yesterday, or they destroyed yesterday because they voted yes. So out of that, then the president said because now he's declining the bill, there will be some budget cuts in some departments in government, from executive to judiciary to the counties. It means that for example, the presidency said money which was budgeted for example, renovation of his house or that of the deputy president, the money had now to be cut because it was almost 600 million shillings, which we are saying they were going to spend on renovation of the houses and buying cars and all those, which Kenyans feel was luxurious issues. So those are the issues that he announced. That then he said there was the issue of our fertilizer, which was budgeted in the bill, which has declined today. So it means again the whole program of supplying free or subsidized fertilizer is going to be affected in one way or the other. And then there was an issue of the youth. He mentioned about the youth, which the programs of youth programs which are actually factored in the budget, and he said they are going to be affected negatively. So those are the explanations he was trying to give to justification that why, and rather explanation is saying that his move to decline to assent to the bill, there will be repercussions in one way or the other.
All right, then we'll wait and see how it all pans out, especially, that bill going back to the special session, you say, of the parliament. Thank you so much, Sarah Sombati, Kenyan journalist from Nairobi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me the show.
Well, the Prime Minister of Haiti, Gary Conille, has welcomed the first contingent of Kenyan police officers into the country. The East African officers were greeted with appreciation and hope for restoration order in a country that has been plagued by gang violence. Mr. Conille notes that the severe impact of gang activities, which have included the vandalism of homes and hospitals and the burning of libraries, but expressed his determination to see an end to the conflict. He responded to a recent statement by gang leader Jimmy Cherezier also known as Barbecue, who expressed willingness to negotiate with the government, provided the gangs disarm and respect state authority. Cornell indicated that the deployment of the Kenyan police would commence in the coming days, but did not disclose details of their first mission. Accompanying the Prime Minister was Monica Juma, Kenya's former Minister of Foreign Affairs and the current National Security Advisor to President William Ruto, who assured Haitians of her country's support. The President of the Republic of Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta, is in Burkina Faso on a visit. He was warmly welcomed at the Ouagadougou airport on Tuesday by his counterpart, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. As a gesture of hospitality, Captain Traoré presented Colonel Goïta with a sapone, the traditional Burkinabe hat. A crowd of supporters adorned in the national colors of Mali and Burkina Faso gathered at the airport, creating a lively atmosphere with vuvuzelas and signs of support. The visit marks President Goïta's first trip to Burkina Faso and also signifies the strong cooperative relationship between the two nations. Now, during his state, both heads of state will address critical issues such as the fight against terrorism, socio-economic development, and the pursuit of total sovereignty for their countries. The discussions are also expected to cover the collaborative efforts within the Alliance of Sahel states, in which Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger fight terrorism and liberate their territories from extremist forces. Over in Rwanda, President Paul Kagame says his vision is to do what the people request of him, which is the only promise he has been making to them since his campaign kicked off on Saturday. On Tuesday, the president was in the Nyarugenge district, where thousands of FPR supporters gathered at a campaign rally to cheer him on. Our foreign affairs correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, reports.
It is mid-morning in Nyarugenge, a district in the Rwandan capital Kigali, and already the crowd is hyped as it anticipates the arrival of the presidential candidate of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, PFPR, President Paul Kagame. Local musicians perform their most popular songs to the crowds. The crowds in turn gyrate to the beat. President Kagame enters the campaign ground. The president anchors his address on references to lions. He tells the Rwandan people they're all lions who will develop Rwanda. His message touches all aspects of family life, taking time to address the youth. He tells them they will grow into bigger lions and that more lions will come from them. He assures them they're never alone on the journey to Rwanda's development. He promised to listen to the needs of the people and would not care what critics outside of Rwanda think about them. He urges them to live in peace with people as long as they are respected and valued.
And with that, the campaign here at Nyamirambo in Nyarugenge district is over. President Paul Kagame again not promising the people anything, but saying this time they will continue to do what the people want.
Rwandans have come from far and wide to show their support for President Kagame. Christine Otiwairu is at the rally with her daughters Stella and Lyra. They've been following developments in Rwanda before and after the genocide.
We feel so excited about our president because he has done so much for our country.
I was born 3 years after the genocide, so it was still very fresh, and I think I was privileged to witness how change came about. We know that, he's the right person for us once more, and we're just so lucky that he's even willing to do it again. Absolutely.
Do you ever think of leaving Rwanda?
I don't think I ever thought about that. I actually don't live here. I live in the States, but I'm only there for studies, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back eventually.
When are you coming back?
I'm coming back next year.
Will you be around to vote?
I will be around to vote.
The campaign is over, and people disperse to prepare for the next one. Amarachi Ubani, Channel Television News.
Still ahead on the program. Congolese President Sassou Nguesso arrives to Russia on the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations with Moscow. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. Let's take you back to our leading story for today. The U.S. has also been reacting to the protests in Nairobi, Kenya, condemning the violence. Take a listen.
So we condemn the violence reported during protests in Nairobi and around Kenya. We mourn the loss of life and injuries sustained and offer our condolences to the families who lost loved ones. We urge restraint to restore order and provide space for dialogue.
Let's move now to Senegal. The country says it has detected COVID-19 in dozens of pilgrims returning from their Hajj journey in Mecca. From tests conducted at the Dakar Blaise Diagne International Airport, 78 cases of COVID-19 were recorded. Senegal's health ministry says the results are not surprising, advising the returning pilgrims to wear masks and self-isolate. Authorities give assurance that they have stepped up surveillance in the country. Saudi officials over the weekend had reported that more than 1,300 people died during this year's Hajj pilgrimage. They blamed the fatalities on extremely high summer temperatures. More than 1.83 million Muslims performed Hajj in this year, 2024. Senegal alone sent 12,900 pilgrims. A new report from the World Health Organization indicates that 2.6 million deaths per year were attributed to alcohol consumption, accounting for 4.7% of all deaths, and 0.6 million deaths to psychoactive drug use. The Global Status Report on Alcohol and Health and Treatment of Substance Use Disorders presents a comprehensive overview of alcohol consumption, alcohol-related harm, and policy responses, as well as treatment capacities for alcohol and drug use disorders worldwide. The report concludes with broad directions for international action to accelerate progress towards achievement of SDG Health Target 3.5.
We can definitely say that there is no risk-free alcohol consumption because there are many health conditions which can be worsened or can be developed because of alcohol consumption, including development of alcohol dependence. And the risks and probability of development of these conditions is very difficult to predict. At the same time, we also can say with confidence that very low levels of consumption, very infrequent use, not necessarily bring harms to individuals. Well, in the European region, there are several countries which stand higher on the overall list. But I would kindly ask to be cautious with any direct comparisons, because for any estimates, we have confidence intervals, we have challenges with reliable estimation of the levels of consumption. That's why we prefer not to do ranking of countries in our data, though the data on levels of consumption is available for all countries of the world and presented in this report. Alcohol use disorder is a more broader concept than alcohol dependence. According to the International Classification of Diseases of the World Health Organization, the concept of alcohol use disorder includes alcohol dependence and harmful pattern of alcohol use. The alcohol dependence is a disorder, a condition which has very specific diagnostic features and very specific requirements for making such diagnosis. Harmful pattern of use is also can be diagnosed only by health professionals, but in a sense, these are patterns or levels or context of harmful of use, which results in negative health consequences for individuals. But these consequences should be detectable, they should be present. And these two conditions are combined for the concept of alcohol use disorder.
Congolese President Sassou Nguesso is visiting Moscow in a bid to deepen ties with Russia. The trip comes less than a month after Russia's Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov made a stop in the Central African country. He's expected to meet with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, and the two leaders will hold discussions on economy, trade, energy, and security cooperation. This is President Sassou Nguesso's second trip to Russia in less than a year. Last July, he traveled to St. Petersburg to attend the Russia-Africa Summit. Brazzaville is one of Moscow's staunch allies in Africa. Russian companies maintain a presence in the country's oil, mining, and military sector. Over here in Nigeria, in commemoration of the 2024 International Women's Day, the Lagos State government says it is supporting 800 widows with sources of livelihood. The State Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Cecilia Dada, made this comment during a press conference at Alausa, Ikeja. She says this year's theme, Widows for Peace Through Democracy, is addressing the 2024 Commission on the Status of Women with priority theme of accelerating the achievement of gender equality. She adds that the ministry will continue to offer life skill empowerment programs in order to help widows become less vulnerable to all forms of abuse.
Lagos State joins the rest of the world in marking the day, focusing mainly on raising the awareness of the plights of widows, especially the vulnerable ones and their children. This administration, through the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, has embarked on various programs to ameliorate the plight of widows within the state through empowerment programs. The Themes Plus agenda of the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, for social inclusion, to leave no one behind, by our passionate governor, has endeared him to graciously approve funds for support widows yearly with a cash gift for inclusive governance. The ministry will be reaching out to a total number of 800 widows beneficiaries drawn from various NGOs, faith-based organizations, widows from Lagos State Social Register, widows from political groups, vulnerable widows from the ministry's register who visited the ministry for assistance and source of livelihood.
And as the countdown to the first democratic elections in South Sudan continues, stakeholders are emphasizing the importance of traditional rulers in providing guidance and influencing decisions on issues of governance. The United Nations mission in South Sudan is working with the Ministry of Federal Affairs to conduct workshops across the country for traditional leaders to strengthen their capacity and impact on constitution-making and governance processes. The government stresses how important it is to clearly define their roles and ensure that their voices are heard at the national level. The inaugural workshop holding in Juba will be followed by a similar session across all the 10 states with a focus on the status, roles and functions of traditional leaders and the implementation of their activities in line with the 2018 peace agreement.
You need peace?
AMIS has traditionally done a lot of work with traditional leaders, enhancing these roles. What we are doing now is looking at that traditional leadership and local governance, specifically as in anticipation of a constitution-making process that looks for popular public opinion. The idea behind this is not that it's a one-off, but we're working with the Ministry of Federal Affairs and supporting their initiatives at the national level in advance of the federalism conference that has been delayed and is anticipated in about July. And then ultimately trying to take it down below the capital into the states and into those local communities, facilitating their work there. And we'll work in partnership with the ministry, peace-building ministry, and also with those other departments in AMIS to ensure that this message gets around.
It is important, ladies and gentlemen, that this workshop
give a guidance, give a direction of how the role of traditional leadership is crucial in the constitutional making process and is crucial in the process whereby we are transitioning this government from the current decentralization system to a federal system of government. And it's important to recognize the role of traditional leadership.
All my group, including those that I have left.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.